You know me, it's that MIC Craig, aka Mr. Impact, back on the Mr. Impact Craig YouTube channel. But this time, not just talking any of wrestling. We're not just got. It's no, typically I don't normally have a guest, but let's change up a little bit and get the interview series back up and running. As you can see, I am joined by star of British wrestling, Adam Bolt. Adam, how are we doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm very well.
Good.
A little bit of off air thing. We had a bit of a nightmare getting the Skype up and running, but we finally have it. It's back. So once again, I appreciate you taking the time out and coming on and doing this. It's been a while since we've done some interviews, and I appreciate you agreeing to be the first guest back.
No, it's fine. Anyone gives me an opportunity to talk, I'm there. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Always give particularly wrestlers always give them time to talk. I would just find it interesting to see talk about the ins and outs of the UK scene. It's had its ups and downs in the past, but it seems to be on a bit of a I'd say quite a boom at the minute.
Yeah.
Would you say that's fair to say, considering it's gone on the past few years?
Yeah, I think compared to where we were, say, 4 years ago, just coming out or in lockdown, it's very different, and not just on the face of it either, like being involved in it, like at shows or being a part of shows or just getting to talk to people, car journeys, a lot of it it just feels more positive. It feels, but also there's a sense that there's like a group consensus amongst everyone that they will tolerate less behavior than like what we've seen before. Like if somebody, the best way to describe it, obviously, if someone's not acting the right way or somebody's doing something that is basically a giant red flag, the chances are now it will 100% get called out. Whereas ages ago, people were kind of not allowed, but able to fly under the radar with stuff like that. So it's a lot more positive than what it was, definitely.
Yeah, it's as I said, it's a lot changed in British wrestling, but arguably for the better.
Yeah,
and it's taken on. I mean, it's going pretty well. This scene, you've got talent being signed from the UK independents and wrestling in major promotions. You've got companies like Progress having shows in the States during WrestleMania week.
Yeah.
And a lot of those shows, besides the Progress one, featured a lot of UK independent talent and got a lot of people noticed. And it's a very good thing to see. It's just British wrestling.
Yeah.
It's gone through many different phases.
Yeah,
but it's good to see how it's progressing and for the better.
Yeah, there's a lot of like you've just said, the opportunities that are coming as well. I mean, it doesn't feel anymore like it's a case of you work in the UK, and you're lucky to go over to the States, for example. Like the fact that we've got companies in the UK working with companies in like the States, and it's almost like a talent exchange sort of thing where you'll see a lot more like people from the States coming over and working shows like Progress or TNT in Liverpool, and then you'll see talent from TNT and Progress going over, not only just doing say Progress shows in the States, but they're also doing other shows like GCW and things like that. So it is getting people noticed a lot, but also it's letting people that don't normally get to see what talent is over here and what people can bring. So it's positive for everybody, really.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's the UK scene was slept on for a very long time, and it seems like people are waking up to it a little bit now, and it can only be a positive thing for everyone in the scene, because more eyes that gets on talent from the UK, people say, "Oh, what companies they wrestle in the UK," and then it opens up to a whole new pool of talent, which don't necessarily get the attention they deserve sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
So I want to take on a bit and ask you personally, what was your earliest memory of wrestling? Like, was it a certain show, a certain match, a certain wrestler, or what was your, like, when you think back to wrestling, what was it that made you say, I want to be a fan of this?
So I've spoke about this quite a lot. So my earliest memory of wrestling, I worked out from just logical timelining. My earliest wrestling memory is also the earliest memory I have of my life, to be honest, which is weird. So I have this vivid memory, and I don't know why, that of being sat on my sofa with my dad and watching wrestling. And the only thing that sticks out to me was somebody who was in like this flamboyant gear. There was a band playing them to the ring, and that is all I remembered for years. Obviously, I carried on watching wrestling from there, but it wasn't until I started because obviously now we can watch things back on by streaming all the time, but back then it was like if you had the DVD or the VHS or whatever, you had to have that to watch it back. So it was like it wasn't until I watched WrestleMania 14 that it was like deja vu. I was like, I've seen this before, and that is where that memory came from. It was Shawn Michaels' entrance when he was facing Stone Cold. I was born in '95, and that show was on in March '98. So I must have been what 2, 3, and it's the earliest thing I can remember. So yeah, my dad used to watch it when it was in its peak in like the Attitude Era, and I obviously got hooked from it. Most kids watch TV shows. I was watching wrestling at 4. At a time I probably shouldn't have been. Let's be honest. I mean, no 3-year-old, 4-year-old should be watching wrestling in like 2000. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was. That's the earliest memory I have, and then I watched it for years. I was always a fan just because it was just the one thing I had. I was always the kid at school that loved wrestling. Especially in Britain, like it's quite a niche to people. When you tell like your friends outside of wrestling that you like wrestling, they're like, okay. So it wasn't until I was in my teenage years at school that I've always thought, I'd love to do it, and I always kind of knew I wanted to do it, but I never thought I was able to because of like I was always a small kid. But and then like coming out of high school, it was like I was starting to see, because at that point, in terms of smaller guys making it, there was like what Rey Mysterio, who was like a really good example. Whereas when the NXT started with like Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, people like that really pushing forward, it was like oh. But what actually made me want to do it was seeing Shawn Michaels and Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. That changed everything because I don't know what it was, because obviously Shawn Michaels is the one that kind of drew me in from a child. So it was just that match. I don't know what it was. I just remember watching it live, and then from then I was like, yeah, I think there's a reason I like this so much, and I don't think it's because I'm a fan. I think it's because I want to do it, and then just went from there. It took me a few years to get the courage to actually go and do it, but I went into my first training session at 22, which was 2018, and then here we are.
Yeah, I mean, that Undertaker and Shawn Michaels match was spectacular. It
Yeah,
was, and as a, I mean, I, I think I borrowed the DVD from my sister to watch it. I've never really watched much wrestling up until then. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it was incredible to see. Purely in the emotional side of it as well. Like they
yeah.
played it off spectacularly, and
Yeah.
yeah, it
What's great about it to me, matches like that, and I've witnessed a few of these like in person, just on the British scene as well, is that when you're involved in wrestling and you wrestle yourself, but people are that good at what they do that they can still pull you in, like you're still that fan, regardless of what you now know about the business, regardless of you being in that position of being in the ring anyway, when they can bring that kid out of you that isn't watching it as a wrestler, but you're watching it as a fan, the fact that that can still be done is like the best thing ever. So like the fact that obviously back then I was still that fan, but there's times I've watched wrestling even still when I've I've watched it, and I'll watch it as just Adam who wrestles himself, and I'm like, oh yeah, I like that, that was good. But then sometimes it draws you in that much that it's like the Adam that was sat on the sofa at the age of 2 that's like watching it. So, and that match is definitely one of them. I can't praise it enough. There's a reason it's considered one of, if not the best WrestleMania match ever. So
yeah, it was yeah.
yeah,
It can just like it's a
You
reason
can't even
WWE,
say anything about it, can you?
yeah,
It's just
it's one of them, like there's a reason WWE's been at the top for quite a long time, and it's because of matches like that.
yeah.
So obviously you mentioned you can enjoy wrestling as a fan instead of like being in wrestler mode of oh, I wonder what I can do there. I wonder what I would do in that position type of thing. Like you get to watch much of the TV stuff that's out there, so like TNA, AW, new WWE, and etc. etc. Do you get to watch much of that? And like, is there stuff you particularly enjoy, or can you? Is it easy for you to switch off that wrestler brain of yeah, if I was in a position, I'd do this and that and that.
Yeah, I'm very good at that. So, like me and my friends in wrestling, people that I wrestle with, a lot of the time we get together and we'll do things. And we're actually doing it next week where we'll just like book somewhere to stay for a few days, like a lodge or something, and we'll all go. And there's been times where we've done that at the time when like a WWE events on. Like I think Crown Jewel last year was on when we went, and watching it with wrestlers infuriates me like no tomorrow because like I can switch off, some people can't, and people will, it comes across like it's a bit judgmental sometimes with people. Like it's not just wrestlers either. It's like I watch it with my family sometimes and they infuriate me. So a lot of the time I'm able to do that and just switch off as a fan and enjoy it. I think coming out of lockdown stuff, when I knew everyone had more time, I did watch things like AEW. I did watch WWE, a bit of Impact and New Japan. But like now, I feel like I'm that busy all the time, like with whether it's work, wrestling, being in the gym all the time. I even started making my own gear, so it's like my brain's always on, and I'm always, even if I'm at work, I'm posting about wrestling. So it's like I'm always switched on. Like if I'm not in a ring, I'm doing something to do with wrestling. So now, I find it's rare that I ever have time. I can't even, like I used to watch Raw and SmackDown religiously. And now I'll skip through it when I can. But the only time I seem to actually be able to make time is for like WWE, like the pay per view events or premium live events, whatever. I catch bits of impacts and things like that, and with TNA when I can, and a bit of AEW. But I barely get time to anymore, to be fair. But I always try and make sure I do because I want to remember, like, I still want to enjoy it. I don't want to always be in like work mode. I want to enjoy it as a fan still, because I think when you lose that, that's when people fall out of love with it as well.
Yeah, it's one of those, and like obviously I'm not a wrestler. I haven't got that similar mindset, but I mean, there is a lot of wrestling out there to watch. Like there's a lot, and especially when you got, you know, what 7 hours of WWE product to watch a week.
Yeah.
You know, it's yeah, it can be a little bit trying. Yeah, it's. I mean, it takes me typically if I can avoid spoilers the morning of, I'll try and watch Raw or SmackDown. If I see spoilers, then fine, I don't need to watch it type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard as well, isn't it? Yeah.
I think because everyone, rightly so, because the age we're in is all
Yeah.
about social media.
Yeah, and
There's
I can't avoid it either. I
yeah,
cannot stay off of social media. Sounds really bad, but because I'm always posting and always doing something, like I can't. For example, um, I think it was the other weekend I had a show, when um, I can't remember what it was that was on. It was, oh, it must have been, no, it must have been when Backlash was on in France, which started at, I think it was like 7 or 8 or something like that. And because I had a show, it was like the show was on at the time that was on. So it's like, and because I'm posting about the show, I can't avoid social media to see what's also going off there. So it's like, so I do get it. It's impossible.
yeah. Uh, um, was I started getting prepared and stuff. I was just scrolling through TikTok, and I came across your TikTok of when you took your nephew training.
Yeah, that was great fun.
Yeah, it it is uh yeah, it is. We are in a social media age of if you can get the attention, if you can go viral, a lot can happen for you. You know,
Yeah.
it's it shows that with all the people who've recently been signed, um, you got Joe Hendry, Leon Slater, those kind of people who went viral, and just it. It is
Exactly.
very much a social media age.
Yeah, I think people need to catch on to that as well, because especially for the last few years, one thing, because I know a lot of wrestlers can be delusional. Like, let's just be honest, they can. But if there's one thing that I can be confident about is that I'm very up to scratch with like making sure there's always content on social media, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, more recently TikTok, and I try and go at it from all angles as well. It's not just pictures of me in the ring. It's not just pictures of me thinking I'm a model. It's not just pictures that are based on fitness. It's like all of it. Like, I will post videos of matches, shots taken by photographers, the like model-esque photos that fit the character, things like the video training with my nephew, things that I can do in the ring trainings, things like that, because I'm aware that, like, for everybody that watches you at a show, you know, them 500 people that might be there, a few hundred, maybe more, times that by 10 for how many people are going to see what you can do on social media. Because if you post it on there, like, it's not even just your followers as well. Like, there's things that have happened where I have realized exactly who is watching me. Like, I think it was like last year, I woke up to a notification. Made a new highlight video on Twitter, and I posted it on Twitter, and it got quite a lot of shares, and I think it got to like 20k views overnight, and I was like, oh, okay, this is good. The next morning I had notification saying John Cena followed me. So these people actually do see your stuff. So what you're saying is true, and that's where it's at. Like, you know, you need, for everyone in the UK, they know who I am, great, but there's a ton more people out there, like the States, that don't know. So I need to make them know, and if I can't go over there, their eyes need to find me somewhere, and that's where it's at.
Yeah, that's the name of the game now. It's just
Yeah.
what works in wrestling now. So you mentioned the highlight package you put out on Twitter and stuff. I've got to say, to put you over a bit, I really enjoyed that the top rope stunner from it looks incredible, and like just the technique, I can't even imagine the technique has to go into getting time. I guess wrestling is all about timing,
Yeah,
and
it's it's so odd because that move, I obviously, like everyone would know, I first saw it when I was watching NXT a few years ago, and I saw Athena at the time, Ember Moon, hit it, and I'd never seen that move before at all, and I was like my jaw dropped. I was like, "What is that?" So, and then as time went on, I realized nobody really did it, and I was like, "But, like, you know, like, it's a really good move, like, and if I thought I could pull it off, and I got it to the point where, like, I try and get the height on it, I get the twist on it, and I can hit it as good as I can. Obviously, it's nowhere near as good as Athena can hit it, but it works really well for me. And the good thing is, it's one of them that I can hit on anybody. Somebody like me all the time, like, if you're gonna have that big move that finishes somebody off, there's reasons why moves like the RKO, like Sweet Music, used to work, because they can be hit on anybody, and that is one of them. Whether they're 300 pounds or they're smaller than me, I can hit it on them. So it works, but it wasn't until actually the same training session I was at with my nephew the other last week that somebody else asked me how I do it, and I was like, I just do it. I don't know. It's like, my tag partner, Jackie T, has asked me before, I need you to teach me how to do a backflip. I'm like, I cannot teach you how to do a backflip. You can either do it or you can't. So, but they asked me to show them like the stunner from the top. Because obviously I know it was called the Eclipse when Athena does it. I called it just the Absolute Stunner because it's emphasis on it being a stunner, and I myself refer to myself as Adam Ball as a stunner who always looks good. So it's like my thing. It's like a double meaning. Um, but it wasn't until I got on the top rope trying to tell someone how to do it that I was like, and he was like, oh, you'll have to show me. And I was like, and I realized without somebody stood there to take it, I can't show you, because you've got to get the motion in. Without that head there to look where to grab, you just look like a salmon jumping off the top rope. It's such a weird move. But yeah, like, I think for me, who's naturally athletic, it doesn't take a lot. But it's not until other people ask me that I realize how much technique and movement and like positioning and timing goes into that move. So yeah, I appreciate it a lot more now that I've actually trying to show somebody else how to do it. But before, it was just one of them things I could do.
yeah, it just looks just, yeah, it's just a great move. And
Yeah.
when it is, it's again with wrestling, when something looks good, and oh, you believe it like that hurts.
Yeah, it wasn't until I did filming for BBC last year, that they wanted a shot of it, and to make sure we had enough to go off, I had to do it like 4 times. Now, normally, if I'm doing it in a match, I'll hit it once. I did it 4 times, and honestly, the pain I had in my backside the next day was unreal. Because a lot
Yeah,
of the time when you're hitting it, like, you know, people do catch you and it kind of takes the impact off. It's not as bad as it looks in terms of on the lower back and landing on your bum over time. It doesn't hurt, but it wasn't until I did it multiple times in one day that I was like, oh, okay, this does probably hurt a bit. So
you mentioned the BBC there. Like, how did that come about? Like, it's like, how does that something like that happen?
so it was it started when I had done. So I met Jack Murley, who last year won the BBC LGBT Sport podcast, and he's a fan of wrestling. Since then, we've become really, really good friends. Um, to the point where he's somebody that I go to for advice now on things, personal or professional. And I did his podcast, and for like, there was just a lot more attention from what he did with me, and we thought there's something kind of here, and I did a few more bits and things like that. But and then I don't know what it was. I can't even tell you, to be honest. Somebody there wanted to run with something, and at first I think it was just going to be like a feature, but and then when Jack started talking to them and telling them like what I do, they loved the idea of like the gear I wore. Like they loved it. They was like, we don't know, we want to run with this, because I think apart what I got told was like the look I had for them, um the fact that I was represented like the LGBT community and things like that as well, which is enough attention in itself. Like when they post about representation with that, it does get a lot of attention. And then plus the whole gear, the look, everything, it all kind of came together, and they was like, right, this could just be a feature, but like let's do some filming as well, let's make it a thing. And then I thought it was just going to be a feature that was posted, like a link or something, and it ended up on like Look North and things like that. So watching like my family sat there watching me on like the biggest news outlet in the UK, I was like, what is my life? Like, what is going off? And it wasn't just that as well, because in wrestling, I know a lot of the times people can be bitter. I'm not going to lie, people can be a bit like, they'll say what they can about you when you get an opportunity. What people don't realize is things like that helps everybody. Like, doesn't matter who it is that's in that position. That's like me being jealous of somebody doing GCW. Like, it helps everybody, because the more eyes they can bring on them, they're going to check where they've come from, which gets it all on us. And it's the same with that BBC thing. If I'm on doing my thing on BBC on national TV, that's going to make more people check out wrestling. The people that sit there at home watching BBC every night that don't know what wrestling is, like, and even if it was just one person, I guarantee there will at least be one. But that one is one more person that was watching before. So it helps everybody. It really does, and that's how it came about. But I still can't come to terms with the fact that it happened, to be honest. But it had a snowball effect with like magazine, like Instinct magazine got in touch with me, and then Pink News, and it was just like, yeah, it just snowballs. Glad
Yeah,
it did.
I mean, it like I said, it benefits everyone. Like it and but yeah, it's very cool. Obviously I don't. I'm in the West Midlands, so I don't really get north of here. But I read the article. I was like, yeah, wow,
Yeah,
this is so cool to see. Like it's just yeah. I yeah I it's very good. It's interesting read as well. Whilst prepping for this is yeah some yeah.
yeah. They did a great job of it, to be fair. Like they touched on everything. It was based on the gear. It touched on sexuality. It touched on the actual wrestling. They got enough shots in me there of what I do in the ring. So there was a lot of bases covered to draw people in, or to at least make people check it out. And judging by the messages I had after, it did a lot for a lot of people. I had people coming out to me, people that were in their 40s. I had people that were like similar to me at that one time that were coming. Then I had people that didn't take notice of that side, but were asking me where I got my gear made, because they do a different sport and they want to know what they can get. And then also the other side of it, I had people just messaging me asking me where I wrestle because they want to come check it out for the first time. So it obviously had an effect. So
Yeah, it's really cool to see when And there's some mainstream attention, especially when touches on really important things like the LGBTQ plus community, and then the rest of things just an added bonus. It's always good when there's some real mainstream attention on this thing, because it is something that needs to be talked about a lot more often, and it's very, very important for everything. I want to ask you, so you mentioned your tag team partner, Big Man Inc. Uh, what to you are some of the best parts of being in a tag team, and then some of the best parts of being a solo wrestler at the same time? What's some of the biggest differences you notice as tag team and singles? Obviously, having an extra person there, I can only imagine helps you a little bit. But like, what would you say like the what would you say the best parts of each were for you?
I think it's great because I do get to enjoy, like my success individually, and then I also have the tag team side of it. What I will say is, as a wrestler, being in a tag team has taught me a ton more about wrestling and psychology than being on my own ever could. And I learned that from Ivy and Brady Phillips, who are like my wrestling mum and dad. Like, it's been spoke about a lot. But because they are got such good minds for wrestling, and they are also a team a lot of the places, like they literally right now run True Grit in Leeds. They've got very good minds for wrestling, and things that make sense and how to think and how to be. And it's not until like I've been there where I've had to structure matches together or be involved in tag matches where I've really learned like how to go about certain situations in a ring or with psychology. Same with like ring positioning, like all of it. Like, it's just tag team wrestling is, I don't think it's celebrated enough. Like, it's really not, because like for example, now we will get like women's main events and things like that, which we always should have had. But like, I just want to see tag team wrestling celebrated more, as men, women, any gender at all, really. Like, just tag team wrestling is great. But yeah, the contrast between the two, like, whenever I'm with Jack, it's fun. Me and Jack are best mates outside of wrestling as well, so it's like we have a laugh, and even if we have a negative experience when we're wrestling, it's fun because it's with each other. And then the solo side of it as well, that's when I feel like the most Adam Bolt, because it's like I don't have anybody else. Like, I'm in this on my own. I've got to have my own back here. Like, anything anybody sees is a reflection of the work I'm putting out there. Whereas in a tag team, it's kind of like, like it's kind of like your focus shifts. Like, what I'm trying to get me, like, achieve whatever goal I am as myself, and then it's like I've got to do the same in this team. But yeah, like, I enjoy both. I really do, both for different reasons. I do want to try and get more opportunities out there as part of that team, and I say that because I think with me already creating quite a name for myself outside of that team, it's hard for people to get eyes on how good Jack is. So we did a training session a few weeks ago with Lizzie Evon. She came to our training school and we did a training session with Lizzie. I absolutely adore her. And even Lizzie said to me, like, he's really good. I was like, I know he is. He is really good. It's just, I need people to see it, because if people think I'm good and people think he's good and we're a team, it can only just make us climb up the ladder even more as a team. Like, but unfortunately, we are still in that situation where a lot of people will book teams for, a bit of a tag division, yeah, but the money is at being on your own, and it's just annoying, because if people really spend time and effort putting a lot of attention on their tag division, me and Jack could do something really special anywhere, because we have that dynamic that nobody else has as well. He's like a hired hitman for me. Most tag teams are equal. We openly say we're not. Like, I'm the star, he's the heavy hitter, but it works so well because nobody else does that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's I completely agree. Tag team wrestling, yeah, it needs a bit more attention. It be very underrated. And when you look back in, some of the top guys right now in the US and in the UK that have been in tag teams, been very successful tag teams,
Yeah.
and it's it's always. I'm a big tag team wrestling fan, but especially when it's not just doesn't have to just be a standard tag team match. I mean, for example, one of my all-time favorite matches is the Hardys, the Dudleys, and the Wolves in TNA in a ladder match.
Yeah.
Exceptional because they've been working together their entire careers almost, and when it flows right,
Yeah. There's a
it
lot more
can.
moving parts, a lot more to think about, and it's more exciting as well. Like, I'm not saying single wrestling or, because you have multi-man matches with individual stars. I get that, but there's something about tag team wrestling where I think the chances are, if you watch a one-on-one match now on TV, and you watch on that same show whatever tag team match is there, providing those both matches have enough time and are with include people that are of the same caliber in terms of like just great at what they do, the chances are you will see something you haven't seen before in the tag match than you will the one on one, because there is still so many unexplored, like kind of like not exaggerated grey areas in tag team wrestling. There's like, because you have the rules, you have different rules there, you have different aspects in terms of who's legal, who's illegal, like things you can get away with, things you can't. It's like there's so much that you can do, so much. It's just exciting because you don't get that same rinse and repeat with tag team wrestling a lot of the time.
Yeah, yeah, it's when again, like when I think in wrestling, when it's done right, it's spectacular.
Yeah,
It's,
definitely.
um, I want to be really respectful of your time. Let's finish off with these last two questions. For those who aren't too familiar with you currently, what if you pick three matches for them to go and check out of yours? What would you suggest they could go out of the way to watch?
Oh, I've got to pick three. um, I'm going to I'm going to pick three that I know are out there and easily accessible. I would say my match with Mitchell Starr at WAW Pride show last year. Literally, type in WAW Pride. It's the first thing that comes up. It's last year's show. For the UK's first Pride title. You get the best of me there. Like, I'm heel. It's a championship match, big fight feel, and it's one of my favourite matches I've had to date. The second, I would say, this one, I feel like looking back now, there's things I'd have done differently, but because for when it was, and it was really when I started getting my first set of opportunities outside of, like a training school, um, Spirit Pro Wrestling, but ran in Sheffield against Alexis Falcon. That match did wonders for me. Like, it's I think it's the first time that I've been on a show that has a lot of good names on it, where people were coming to me and telling me I had match of the night, and me and Alexis got on so well. We just gelled well together. I'd love to do it again and run it back now that I know what I know 2 years later. And then the third one is just, I would say, it's for a promotion that runs once a year and does charity shows, which is Phoenix Events in Yorkshire. My match with Jackie T, my tag team partner. Especially check that one out, because people that don't realize how good Jack is, people that have never seen me, that was for a championship match, and the emotion of that, it's very emotional. There's emotion. There's like where the main event, like it's. I think in terms of like an emotional standpoint and for what it meant, that's probably got to be my favorite. But it's hard to pick three. Like, ages ago, people would say, "Give me three matches," and I'd be like, "Oh, well, it's a good job because I've only got three." But now it's just like I've done so much in the last couple of years where there's quite a, I'm not counting on one hand anymore. Like my favorites, like there's a good 6, 7. So, but yeah, them three for sure. If you've never watched me, check them out.
Definitely go and check those out. And just to finish up, I always ask this question in every interview, and I think it's because I find it fascinating because I tend to get quite different answers from it.
Yeah.
In the next 3 years, where and what would you like to have achieved, and where would you like to be, whether it be personally or professionally? Where would you like to be in the next 3 years?
I think personally and professionally, it's about wrestling for me. I think personally, I would just like to be earning um obviously, ideally, I'd like to be earning a full-time wage from wrestling. I would. Um, Professionally, in terms of wrestling itself, it's no one's gonna shoot you down for saying you want to be signed somewhere. Of course, everyone does. And I feel like I'm putting in the work to just try and get noticed a bit more and get out there more. But at this point, like the next logical step for me is being that next or one of the big names in British wrestling. Like I've worked so hard in terms of the gym. I knew my size. I knew how small I was going to be. Like I'm in the best shape I've ever been in, faster than I've ever been, stronger than I've ever been, and like the where I'm going and the places I'm being is reflecting that. So I just want to be one of them names that's on the British scene that is just can be put in any role and can thrive in it and deliver for whatever I need to deliver for as well. I want to be at the shows like TNT more regularly. I want to be on Progress. I want to be at Rev Pro. These big promotions that like I feel like I'm ready for them things now. I feel like if they took a chance on me, I feel like they wouldn't regret it. So in the next few years, like I think that's the smaller goal, like in terms of where I hope to be. But obviously, in big sense, I'd love to be by that point going to the States and doing things over there as well. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to see two Wrestle Carnival shows and a PEW show in Stratford, and yeah, honestly blew me away. Like it's so much talent on this scene, and when I saw you, the look, the character you portray, it it works. It did work, and it very 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 talented. So yeah, I appreciate you coming on and doing this. It's like I said, it's been a while for me doing some interviews. Hope I wasn't too rusty, and just
No.
wanted to let people know where they can find you, any upcoming shows you've got, where they can buy merch, etc.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram it's just Adam Bolt Wrestler, on Twitter it's Adam Bolt underscore. TikTok's Adam Bolt Wrestler as well. I've started posting on there more. That's more of a fun vibe as well. In terms of merch, I'm working on getting more. I've always got 8x10s available, but I'm working on getting some new proper merch soon, especially over the summer. Up and coming, I have obviously we have the Phenomenal Elite Wrestling PW shows in Stratford area every month, pretty much. The next one of them is on the 22nd of June. We've got another one in July. Um, I have there's new wrestling Newcastle shows coming up. I think the next one of theirs is in August, and then also in terms of Pride Month as well. Just while I'm on the subject of it, I have True Grit have just announced their Pride show, the True Grit Games. That is on the 20th of July, I believe. And then WAW are running their 4th annual Pride show on the 26th of July, a Friday, I believe it is. Whatever Friday that is closest to that 26th is then. So yeah, but obviously I'm the Pride champion as well, so as well there, so I'll be defending that for the first time. So got quite a busy summer at the minute. I'm quite looking forward to it, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Where you can find me.
There you have it. Go check out Adam here, there, everywhere. You can follow me here, there, everywhere. I've been the MIC. Until next time, goodbye, my friends.